Hey, hey. All right. Hey, it's my
Go.
best friend.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that positive energy.
You already know. How you doing?
I am good. I'm good. It's been the weekend was super productive. I feel like the week is going to be productive as well. I'm vibing.
I
It's
love
a good
that.
time.
I love that. All right. So we're waiting on the guitars over guns to get in, but I'm going to pin this question really quickly because it is Black History Month. So I want to know
Yeah.
how people are feeling and what are some creative things people are doing to help their mental health. So let me just throw this in there.
Let me make sure that my settings don't make my phone turn off really quick. One
Okay. Yes. Let's not do that.
Okay. Cool.
All right.
That
Nice.
should be handled.
To help your mental health. All right. Okay. Let's get this. Let me pin this. Pin this question. Bow. So y'all, please, all the people that are in the audience, let's start to answer that question. My name is Octavia Yearwood, and I will be your host today on the Elevate Prize live. So we are just needing one other person real from Guitars Over Guns.
Indeed.
So what I will do is just start sharing about. Actually, let's just start you. Let's get you started. Just introduce yourself real quick to our amazing audience.
Oh boy, where do we start? Hello. That seems like a good way to start things out. Hi, my name's Tony Weaver Jr. I am a lot of things. Today I'm happy, so that's cool. I'll start with that.
I love that.
Today's a happy day. Emotions are in a good place today. Um, I'm a writer, I'm a storyteller, I'm a business person, I'm a social impact leader. If I had to give like a base explanation, I would say that I run an organization called Weird Enough Productions. And at Weird Enough, we focus on using the power of representation and storytelling to improve mental health for young people. So what I want to be very clear on is that when I say that, a lot of people think like I write educational stories. They think like, oh, it's like Schoolhouse Rock. Is that what you're doing? Like a new age Schoolhouse Rock? And the answer to that is resoundingly no. That is not what I'm doing. The way that I describe my work is that at a young age, I very much realized the power that stories have and the impact that stories are able to have on people. So I write stories that are just amazing stories, manga, anime type stuff, things that, in my opinion, can go toe to toe classroom to help young people feel a bit better about themselves.
Amazing. And for those who don't know who I am, my name is Octavia Yearwood. I am an author and I'm a host, and I'm here with Elevate Prize to really zone in on Black History Month and some amazing folks and some amazing topics. So first of all, let me just share with y'all, Elevate Prize is absolutely on a mission to amplify individuals and organizations doing important social impact work around the world. Each year, Elevate Prize Foundation gives away $5 million to individuals who are making an impact in their communities and who have started organizations that make the world a better place. This week, I'll be taking over the Elevate Prize Instagram page to host 2 Instagram lives in honor of Black History Month. Today is number 1, and we're kicking it off. And we have a great pleasure of hearing from 3 Elevate Prize winners and fellows to discuss the importance of representation and mentorship and mental health in Black communities. Now, mentorship in Black communities is a huge thing. So what I want is, again, for people to read the pinned question that we have here. Look at that. Oh, I see a lot of love coming in for you, Tony.
Yay.
I love this. So, yes. So what I want to do is I want to get started, but I actually just need to get this other person in here. Let me see if let me just try this really quickly.
It seems that Real is having a real hard time.
You know, are we in the Mercury retrograde? I don't think so.
Is that what's happening? Is that what's happening?
I don't think so. I don't want to blame them. You know, I always feel like Mercury gets blamed for all problems of the world, but I will say Mercury goes hard when it goes retrograde.
I've started to create like my own personal indicator factors for why things just don't go the way that I'm supposed to. So like some people get mad when their favorite sports team loses or something like that. But there's an anime that I watched that the last episode of the new season was last week. So they're not putting out any more episodes for like another year and a half. So I'm like, oh man, that went wrong today. Must be because Demon Slayer just ended. That's why. It's because Demon Slayer just aired their last episode. That must be what's going on. It's caused a shift in the universe.
Okay, I like that. I like that responsibility. Okay, so I am not these other people trying to get accepted. So I see him. I invited him, and I am pressing accept on him, and then it says he is unable to join. ¿Por qué? So then in this moment, then since we're having this issue, and I'm hopefully at some point they will be able to join us. Oh, it said they joined. Okay.
Good morning. Good morning.
There we are.
There we are. Now let's just do a mic check. Can you hear me? Can we hear you?
I can hear y'all. Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you very well. I'm very jealous of how low your voice is able to go.
I'm about to say.
Yes,
the baritone is hitting.
I can hear you loud and clear.
The baritone is absolutely hitting.
How y'all feeling this morning?
Okay, so we got this awesome introduction from Tony about Tony. So I want to kick it over to you, Real, and give us a quick intro to you, and then also let us know a bit about Guitars Over Guns.
Okay, grace and peace, everybody watching. Thank y'all for being here this beautiful Black morning. My name is Jeremiah, but I go by Real. That stands for two things, all right? And I need y'all to pay attention because it's an acronym. When I rap or do poetry, it stands for Ready and Enlighten That Life. When I sing, it stands for Ready and Enlighten That Love. And those are things that I'm always ready for and enlightened about. I work for a company called Guitars Over Guns, which is a non-for-profit mentorship organization that uses music and the arts to partner with both public and private schools to help further our youth into finding themselves and giving them a safe space to create, along with experience education from experienced artists. So you name it, rappers, singers, guitarists, bassists, pianists, everything. We do it all.
And I've seen it, okay? And when I say that they get down, I'm always so mind blown at go-go galas about how amazing these kids sound. Like they all sound like they could be, playing with the greats. And it's really just really impressive. So, okay, now that we have dropped it on the technology, boom, let technology know that you can't hold us down. I think that that's some of the most beautiful qualities about Black people, actually, is how we're able to build and rebuild whatever it is that is needed for our elevation. And no matter what oppression may have happened, we always, for me at least, end up on top. But not without help, right? And so today we're talking about mentorship and representation. So my first question to y'all, and I also pinned it here in the chat, for anybody who is in the chat, please, please, please be a part of this conversation. We want you engaged. Answer these questions that we have, but we're going to start now. Real, you started. So Tony, I'm going to kick this first question off to you. What impact has mentorship and representation had on your life? And how does it inform your work?
Well, I think I'll start with the representation bit because so much of my work is rooted in creating positive representation of people of color, like people that don't get the opportunity to see themselves in the hero spotlight very much, giving them a
Right.
chance to see themselves for what they're capable of. So I'll say that the impact of representation for me has always been massive because I know what it feels like when it's not there. Um, I think representation is extremely important, and we hear people say it a lot. We hear people say representation matters, representation matters. All the people that are on the like recast T'Challa train right now, they're like, well, you need to recast T'Challa because representation matters. But for me, I think that representation only goes so far. And during that place where representation stops, I think mentorship has really been the place that picks up the gap, or kind of that picks up the baton and fills in the gap. I think that at every major point in my life where I have had absolutely no idea what I'm doing, there has always been a mentor, normally a Black woman, that like taps me on the shoulder and goes, hey, this way, come on. Hey, over here, come on. And so when I think of mentorship, I think of Dr. Naima Clark, who was one of my first communications professors while I was in school at Elon University. And the teachings of Dr. Clark, everything that she taught me about representation, about cultivation theory, is literally the baseline for my work. And I still use what she taught me every single day. So it's very interesting to look back and think, well, what if Dr. Clark hadn't seen value in me and decided to pour into me in the way that she did? So it encourages me to do the same thing with young people that I run into, always trying to make myself a resource for our community, because I think that representation can only get you so far. What's more important than any conceptual representation are very real people making very real efforts to support everyone in their community.
What was the theory that you said she taught you?
Cultivation theory. So cultivation theory is a term that was coined by George Gerbner in the late 1970s, that basically says the more that a person watches television, the more they believe the world around them is like the world that they see on TV. And it came about because I was in Dr. Clark's office and I was like, listen, I know I sound crazy, but I think that the way that Black people are portrayed in mass media as criminals, as deviants, as people that are unintelligent, has a direct impact on the way that people treat us in real life, and probably has a direct impact on why certain types of people tend to fear for their lives when they come in contact with us under certain contexts. And Dr. Clark from the other side of her desk looked up at me and said, oh no, there's a theory on that. There's a research based on that. And I said, what? It's not a Twitter conspiracy. Explain. We have scholarly data and schools of thought based on this. And she's like, yeah, I wrote a textbook on it. And I'm like, what? Excuse me? And at that moment, Dr. Clark took me under her wing and showed me the ways. Better than reading the book, the person that wrote the book was my teacher. So I think that just that experience with Dr. Clark is a very huge reason for why I am the person that I am today.
Amazing. Real, come through.
Impact. I'm gonna start with the mentorship part since we started with representation. Mentorship has impacted my life in a way that's very hard to describe, because I've always found myself in a position where I felt that I had to learn things on my own. Unfortunately, I suffer the same thing as a lot of people, which is learning the hard way. I've had to learn the hard way, but it seemed like at all the critical moments in my life, there was always a strong man or a woman to come through and to tell me about myself, because that's where it starts, right? With mentorship, you learn that pride isn't a weapon, but rather is something that you can enjoy after you've accomplished something for real. So mentorship has played a huge role in my life, and it has helped me to be able to actually learn and experience for myself. I feel like through media representation, a lot of times we have these different fears, right? We have these different fears that are both projected on us from those who don't know us, don't know our stories, don't know our struggles, our situations, our environments, and also from the people that we see around us. So when somebody that looks like you reaches out to you and just gets to know you, gives you the opportunity to learn different things, that sort of thing, it really can enhance your own life experience. And it has been pivotal. I met Andre Daniels, aka Ad2, which is a artist, MC, great MC, community leader. I met him in college, and I didn't think when I got older that I would need a mentor, but he's taught me so much about everything, what it means to live as a black man, you know what I'm saying, be happy and to learn, and how to be afraid but not let fear run your life, that sort of thing. And that has helped me to reach so many other youth and other people. And it's beyond important. So it has been extremely impactful. And with representation as well, seeing other people, like I didn't know about Attitude. I didn't know about another mentor of mine, Dennis Thompson. I didn't know about these people. So, and like seeing them and how they represent themselves and seeing the impact that they have on their communities, that representation definitely didn't just give me hope, but it gave me the courage to want to represent my people the
Right.
right way.
So I'm curious. I wanna kind of sort of expound on this because I think that like as I'm listening to y'all, it still really feels like mentorship is something that we may see value in when we've overcome some things and or have these people that show this interest. But how are we really instilling in some of our young people to seek mentorship? Because I think that, like, even in both of your cases, it seemed like the mentorship happened almost by happenstance. Like, this person just kind of sort of took an interest. And I just kind of sort of want to shift that from happenstance to intention. So what are some tips and ways that you can tell folks how to actually pursue mentorship as opposed to, because a lot like the way y'all mentioned it reminds me of like that Lean on Me kind of mentorship, right? Like the movie Lean on Me,
Yeah.
where this
Hmm.
stuff is happening and this person's like, lock the school down, we're gonna make this better. Like, and it's forceful and it's not really intentional for the part of the person that actually benefits the most from it. So what are some tips and some ways to seek mentorship? And do people need to be ready for mentorship or let's just unpack that a little bit of tactics and strategy around finding mentorship.
So if I can just hop in, be intentional with yourself and being honest with yourself. That means that you're prepared to do whatever it takes to be the best version of yourself. So, like I was talking to one of my mentees, he wants to eventually pursue a greater basketball career for himself. Right, he's in sixth grade right now,
Mm-hmm.
and he tells me about all his favorite players and everything. And I was telling him, I said, look, everything that you do, everything that you want to achieve, you have to put in the work for it. So, with that being said, I've seen him go to his coach and ask more rather than just waiting to be in practice. I think I was able to show him intentionality and what that means as far as like seeking the help that you need. We
Mm-hmm.
look up everything, right, on Google, on I don't know if people still use Bing anymore, but we ask Siri all these questions. We always find a way to to get the answer to what we're looking for. So when it comes down to uh, things more on a life-based level, or even if it's just things in your field, I feel like it's natural for us to reach out as well, and that's what I try to encourage. I want my students to take that step forward, be scared, you know what I'm saying, but ask, and they can go out there and look for what you want to get what you want. And I'm just going to pass the rock over to Tony.
I think a significant amount of my progress I've been able to make as a creator and as a business leader has been as a direct result of mentorship. I started my company when I was 19 years old. And if you look at where we are now, all of these awards that we've won, impacting over 500,000 kids, that type of stuff does not happen. That sort of thing doesn't happen by coincidence. When I sought out mentorship, I considered the knowledge of others just as important as my own knowledge. And that's what I would recommend to people. So even though we like to feel really unique, even though we like to feel like we're doing this thing that's like going to change the world, it's totally possible that it will. But ultimately, my thought process has always been, no matter what path you're walking, there were people that were there before you. And my point of view is, if there were people there before me and those people made mistakes before me, why would I make the same mistakes that they made? It's significantly more easy for me to go find the people that were here before and say, hey, I'm about to go down that path. Did you trip anywhere? Is there like a trap set up somewhere? Is there a thing that I won't know walking into it that I should know that may slow me down if I let it sneak up on me? Like, a lot of people get so focused on this like hustle and like rise and grind mentality, but a lot of it is just toiling in mediocrity. It's just, I'm working for the sake of saying that I'm working. Mentorship allows you to work smart because you get to benefit from the people that came before you. You get to benefit from the knowledge base of entire generations of people that walk this path before you. I know that I'm going to make mistakes on my journey, but I want to make mistakes that only I make. Does that make sense? I want to make mistakes that I'm the person that gets the first opportunity to make that mistake, and someone's going to come to me and say, hey, what happened when you were over there? And I can go, oh, I had no idea there was a dip right there. Pay attention. There's a dip over there. I think a lot of people don't reach out for help because they think that reaching out for help makes them look weak, or reaching out for help makes it look like they don't know what they're talking about. But I'm like, no, they know what they're talking about. Your youthful exuberance is only going to get you so far. You only have a finite amount of energy. So I'm focused on spending my energy in the places where, only in the places where I have to spend it. I'm not going to spend my energy if I can just go get the answer from somebody else. That's the point of view that's allowed me to go, that's allowed me to kind of get farther, I think.
Oh yeah. That sounds like smarter, not harder. It sounds like, yeah, going to people that come before. It's sounding like exactly what needs to be done. I'm hoping that people who are listening to this conversation, there's a lot of people in the chat talking about how great this conversation is. I agree. I really hope that people who are listening also continue to share this information with people who are around, because also I know that you spoke a lot to young people. I think that, like you were saying, you mentioned your business starting at 19, which is also going to appeal to the 19-year-old, but I also want the 30 and the 40-year-old to also know that this information is very relevant for you as well, and it's never too late. Like, really, really set out to find people who know more than you. Build relationships, because that's one thing that that hasn't come up yet. But this building of relationships, and that comes really well with what you said, Real, which is be ready and kind of sort of have this not intention, but initiative to really start to take these moves on your own. And the same thing with you, Tony. When you start this thought process, that was you starting this thing. That's why your teacher said, oh, this is about to be my mentor. Because he's thinking about things that he didn't even read about, but it's innate in him. So let me help flourish that. I love that. So let's get to this next question. What are some tips that you would give young Black creatives as it relates to their creative pursuits and how to support their mental health? I really want to lean into this mental health aspect too, because I think that, so this is a random kind of sort of like story, but I was watching Love is Blind and I saw how, like, in short, how much of a wreck a lot of the women were emotionally, and like how grounded the men were in the show. And I was like, man, men are expected to provide, hold down emotionally, but I don't think that people really get to understand how much of their mental health is sacrificed with having to seemingly be everything sometimes, and a lot of times. So I think this question kind of leans in on that. Although it's about Black creatives, you're two Black men here. So I want you to also really think about your own personal mental health. So again, what are some tips that you would give young Black creatives as it relates to their creative pursuit and how to support their mental health?
I think the answer is balance. It's balance. What is very, what's the word? The reality that you have to accept when creating, especially if you want to find success as someone that's creating anything, is that the most talented people don't always win. The nicest people don't always win. Sometimes there are people that happen to be in the right place at the right time. Sometimes there are people that are absolutely terrible people that are going to find success. Like you think about the reckoning that happened in Hollywood with Harvey Weinstein. You think to yourself, this guy was such a terrible person, such a terrible person, and yet had everybody lining up to work with him. There's somebody somewhere who didn't have any of those traits that's wanting to get just one of those opportunities. With all those facts at play, you got to focus on keeping yourself balanced. Focus on what you want to make. I think that the place where you fall off is where you start comparing yourself to other people, comparing their journeys to your journeys. I told one of my friends at the beginning of this year, I said, at the beginning of this year, I was like, I don't know, a little over, or rather, we're still early in 2022. So I'll use 2021 as an example. Early 2021, I was at a little over 200,000 followers on TikTok. And I said, it's been a year. We hit like over 200,000. That's fun. And I turned to one of my friends and I said, in the next 6 months, there's going to be someone who doesn't even have an account right now that has 10 times as many followers as me by the end of the year. I guarantee you. And it's going to happen in like a fraction of the time, a fraction of the videos, and also like a fraction of the effort. But I got to be okay with that. Because the minute I start looking at that person and going, oh, why didn't it pop off for me? Why didn't it go viral for me? Why didn't this thing happen for me? You're in bad territory. As a creator, you got to focus on yourself, focus on what it is you specifically want to accomplish. Like, be strategic. Think about what is going to breed success in the platform that you're on. But the moment you start paying attention to what other people are doing and what other success that they're having, you're losing focus. So keep that balance is my big thing.
Okay.
If there's a saying at my at Yogo, we talk about divine synchronicity, and that's pretty much just everything aligning itself at the right time. And it's not that it's happening then, but it's the fact that we're noticing it. And I just got to say, like there are so many things that you said that I personally like. I live that, you know what I'm saying? Just for example, balance. I'm talking about balance whether I'm talking with high schoolers, middle schoolers, college folks, whatever, it don't matter. Balance is key. And I also was feeling what you were saying as well about not judging others, not judging your own success or rating your own success from somebody else's success. Because what that does is that poisons your potential. It's a lot to unpack. Can you run this question by me one more time? Those are like the things that really jumped back out at me.
Yeah, it was, what are some tips to give the Black creative as it relates to their creative pursuits and how to support their mental health? And like, I think that Tony's answer as far as like balance and then giving examples of how to kind of sort of get it, what Jimmy Iovine calls this kind of like horse blinders, tunnel vision thing, where you just put on these horse blinders and you just go. And the reason why he said that, he said, when a horse doesn't have blinders on and they're racing, if they look at a horse next to them, they'll trip, fall, and then they're completely out of the race. If they have their blinders on, it doesn't matter if they lost or they, like, it doesn't matter what anybody else was doing. They focused in and they just went and they just go. And that is what he said he does. He just goes. What I would love from you, Real, perhaps though, is maybe give us some real broken down, tangible kind of like to-dos. Like, do you have a ritual? Like, when you find yourself getting off balance, how do you get back on balance? Because saying stay balanced is easy to say, but like when you get off that balance, which no matter what you do, how do you get back on perhaps? Maybe you can lean into that part of the question.
So I'm not Dr. Dre, but I'm about to share my recipe. All right. Got to hit y'all with the ingredients. So first things first, create because that's what you want to do. Forget everybody else, right? Forget who's doing this, what ad-lib is the hottest one right now. Forget what style of beat from what city is the most populous right now. Make what's real to you, whatever that is. And it's going to be frustrating. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be irritating. You're going to laugh. You're going to cry. You're going to love it. for a year and then hate it and be like, that's the worst thing I ever did in my life. But the fact that you did it and the fact that you didn't disable yourself but enabled yourself to do what you want to do is going to make the most difference in the world, and it's going to help your mental health as well. I found myself in a position where once I finally started recording music professionally, I was like, okay, that means that I gotta have this certain type of sound. I gotta have like sound. Really, I'm just gonna focus on sound right now, because if you weren't having as many quotables as Drake, if you didn't, you know what I'm saying, be able to touch on the street life and on personal stories like Kendrick, then who are you? If you weren't, doing the poetic style of rap like No Name or like Chance, you know what I'm saying, using like these different jazzy intervals like Sabin and Shmino on them, then who are you? And a lot of people still do it. We make things and we judge our creation based off of our influences and what influences the people that we want to reach. But in realizing that I didn't fall in love with music because it was cool, because somebody told me to do it. I fell in love with music because I heard something that spoke to me. And then when I started to create music, it was the different things within myself and my soul that I just wanted to express, but I didn't have an avenue. Doing that helped me mentally because it alleviated pressure off of myself. That feeling like I'm not producing something, I'm not putting something out into the universe, like that built up energy that I had. It's a huge stress reliever for a lot of people. I know for myself, like I've experienced some severe depression before, and just being able to make that audible or visual, because I paint as well, to me has helped me a lot. So like painting through those situations in life. And maybe it's not you. Us as creatives are a lot of the times we're empathic as well. So we're also dealing with the weight of everybody else's world as well as our own. And it's just like all of that pressure, all of this, what you're supposed to do, what you're not supposed to do, what's hot, what's not hot. None of that stuff matters. If you want to be able to be happy with yourself at the end of the night, get some type of sleep, even if it's 5 minutes, because us creators, we don't sleep. We don't know how to sleep. But my biggest advice is to just make. That's it. Just make and deal with it. Be mad at yourself. It's never going to be. Perfection is something that I believe perfection can be achieved at some point, but it all depends on your perception. So I would just say that just create, just do that, and it's gonna help to both free you from certain things, and it's also gonna guide you into your future.
I love that.
Whatever.
I love that. Once somebody said, "What does innovation look like?" And Jemani Anamdi said, "We shouldn't know what innovation looks like. We'll know it when it we'll know it when it happens." So that's the key too, right? Like just keep doing. So as we know, Elevate Prize Foundation is all about inspiring people to problem solve in their own communities. So how can people in our community watching get involved with what you're doing in this work? How are some ways? Kick it to Tony. How can they get involved? Share a little bit more perhaps as well for some of the new folks that came in, and let us know.
Yeah, well, like I said, I run an organization called Weird Enough Productions. At Weird Enough, we're focused on telling diverse stories, and our flagship series is called The Uncommons, that tells the story of a group of unlikely outsiders that have to save each other to save the world. If you want to get involved in our work, I think the biggest thing that we're doing right now is just building an audience to prove that there is one for this type of stories. I know that it sounds very cliche, where everybody's like, comment, and share, like, comment, and share. But honestly, we got everything set up for now. We got an amazing team of artists that are based around the world, an evolving story full of complex characters in a world that people can really see themselves in. We broke 2.5 million readers last year, so we're developing things pretty well. I think the biggest thing for me right now, as we set our eyes on an animated series, is just whatever proof of concept we have around building a fandom and letting people know that there is an appetite for stories like this. So even though it's something that you hear a lot, I'm at Tony Weaver Jr. and our company is at Weird Enough HQ. Like, share, follow, subscribe, all that stuff.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Real, talk to me.
So if you want to get involved in any way, whether it's coming to a show, donating, seeing what we do, looking at the photography that we put up around the city, Guitars Over Guns on everything, Instagram, Facebook, Google, you name it. We got a Guitars Over Guns for you. That's how you support. And also, if you have a young one in school, it could be in high school or, you know what I'm saying, grade school, whatever it is, find out. We have different programs that go not just throughout the school year, but also through the summer as well. So we're always here to help guide our young folks into who they can be, who they want to be. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So thank y'all so much for joining me today and dropping them gems like I knew you would in the way that you do. Shout out to Elevate Prize, and thank you all so much for joining us for the conversation today. We're so glad to have you in our Elevate community. I noticed that a couple of people started following Elevate during our talk. Shout out to y'all for continuing to support. We are going to do another live. I'll be doing another live this Thursday, so be sure you come. We're going to be hearing from 3 different Elevate Prize winners and fellows, and we're going to be talking about mass incarceration and its impact on the Black community. And so also, lastly, if you are looking for an easy way to get involved, registration just opened for our next round of Elevate Giving. Woo! Check out the link in our bio and sign up. Elevate Giving allows you to join a group, learn about an organization's driving change, and pool your donations, which Elevate matches up to $75,000. And then decide where you want to spend those funds to make the most impact. We are here making good famous and making good cool. Thank you so much again, Tony. Thank you so much again, Real. Thank you so much again, Elevate, for everything that you're doing. And let's check in with us on Thursday. Peace out and stay Black. Later, y'all.
Thank you.